Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I am Shane.
Hello everyone, I am Nina.
And we're talking about keys of self-discipline. So what are the keys of self-discipline? Or when we're talking about self-discipline, what do we expect that to mean if you have self-discipline?
So when you say self-discipline, it means when you can control yourself to do things you need to do, even if they are hard.
Oh, okay. So do you think that you have pretty good self-discipline?
I would say generally I do. So yes, so discipline can be applied to many things.
Sure.
But I think the biggest part is working out.
Oh, like exercising?
Exercising,
Sure.
eating healthy,
Okay.
and getting work done, right?
Right.
I feel like that's the three bigger things that need discipline in life.
Okay. Then I guess if that's the case, then I guess I do have pretty good self-discipline.
Okay, that's good.
I think I grew up with a lot of freedom. My parents didn't really pay a lot of attention to me. So I had to grow up fast and learn to do things for myself. So I kind of learned self-discipline at a young age.
That's really
good. I think.
Okay, for me it was when I got a little bit older into my teenage years and I started caring about eating healthy and exercising. So that's when I really had to force myself not to eat unhealthy things and to go running almost every day. Yeah, it was actually difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult to have self-discipline.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into today's lesson.
Okay.
Ethan has a lack of control. He puts off doing his homework until the last minute. He also doesn't put his phone down, although it's time to go to sleep. In other words, Ethan doesn't have self-discipline.
That's the practice of doing what's right instead of doing what's easy and feels good.
If Ethan doesn't change, he won't succeed in the long term.
Okay, so this is part one of keys of self-discipline. So can you remind us again, what is self-discipline?
Okay, so self-discipline is when you can control yourself and do things you need to do, even if they are hard and you don't want to do them. So for example, with self-discipline, she was able to study for her exams even when her friends wanted to play. Ooh, that must be hard, especially when you have peer pressure. Your friends say, come play with us, but you say, no. I have to study.
Right. And it's also like we're talking about self-discipline. You could have discipline that comes from like your parents and things like that. But when you have self-discipline, you don't need your parents or maybe your teachers to say, hey, you need to do your homework. Hey, you need to study harder.
Yeah.
Because you have the self-discipline.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's look into the story.
Okay.
Ethan has a lack of control. So when you have lack of something, it means you don't have it or you have very little of it.
That's right. So there's a lack of control. So control is a noun. It's the ability to make somebody or something do what you want. So if you have a lack of control, you can't make yourself do what you want yourself to do.
Exactly. So you can't control yourself and make yourself do something.
Right. Our example sentence, the teacher has very good control over her students. Okay. Continuing, he puts off doing his homework until the last minute. He also doesn't put his phone down, although it's time to go to sleep.
Okay.
So he does everything at the last minute, right? That just means it's not always exactly the last minute.
Yeah.
What we mean is you do things when it's already too late.
Yeah, or when it's just before you need it to be done. But usually by then, it's going to cause a lot of problems or you might not finish it, right?
What does it mean to put off something?
Yeah, so he puts off doing his homework. It means to decide to do something later instead of right now. Yeah. So for example, I decided to put off cleaning my room until I finish my homework.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you're doing something like homework,
Yeah.
not like playing video games or something like that.
Yeah, so that's a good reason to put off cleaning their room, right?
Okay.
Okay, continuing in the story. In other words, Ethan doesn't have self-discipline. That's the practice of doing what's right instead of doing what's easy and feels good.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, in this case, doing what's right would be to finish his homework early and putting his phone down when it's time for bed.
Yeah,
right?
you were mentioning before like exercising and eating and things like that. So you do what feels good
Yes.
instead of what's right. So you, like if you're trying to diet, you're going to eat a lot of junk food because
Exactly.
it just makes you feel good even though you know it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Or you take a nap instead of going for a run because
It's easier.
it's easier to do, right?
Exactly.
Okay, we have a vocabulary word here, practice, which is a noun. That's action rather than ideas. So, for example, you could say, he wants to put into practice exercising every day. Continuing the story, if Ethan doesn't change, he won't succeed in the long term.
Okay, so he won't succeed. That's a verb, and it's when you do something well or achieve what you wanted to do. So, for example, with hard work, she will succeed in reaching her goals. Yes. So, you know, discipline is actually so important in life.
Right, and they're saying he won't succeed in the long term, right? So the long term, when we say that, that means over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So that can be compared to short term. So maybe that's the problem. A lot of times with self-discipline is you think about only the short term. You
Yes.
just think, well, if I just have this little bit of ice cream, I'm not going to get fat right away, right? But the problem is you're not thinking about the long term. And the long term is if you keep eating that ice cream every day because you care only about short term, in the long term, you will become fat,
That is true.
right? Okay, why don't we take a break and we'll get back to Ethan.
Okay.
To fix this, Ethan must look at his life and pick an area that he wants to improve. Then he can set an easy goal to reach.
Welcome back, everyone. So before the break, we learned that Ethan has a lack of control. So he struggles with self-discipline, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so when it's time to finish his homework, he always puts it off until the last minute. And when it's time to go to bed, he doesn't put down his phone. And if he keeps being like this, then it will make his life harder in the long term,
That's
right?
right. Okay, well, what's he gonna do? He needs to change.
He needs to change,
Okay.
otherwise he might not achieve anything.
So what can he do? To fix this, Ethan must look at his life and pick an area that he wants to improve.
Okay, an area.
An area. So an area is a particular subject or an activity or some part of that. So for example, you can say, Math is Helen's weak area.
So she's not that good at math, right?
Right, exactly. So he needs to pick an area, you know, something in his life or something that he needs to improve.
Yeah, so if you want to improve something, improve means to make something better than it was before. So, for example, he practiced playing the piano every day to improve his skills. Yeah.
Okay.
So continuing, then he can set an easy goal to reach. Okay, so first, choose something he's not that great with or he wants to get better at.
Yeah.
And then set an easy goal to reach.
Okay. So what does that mean, to set a goal? Means to prepare or arrange something so that it is ready for use or it's in a correct position. So for example, you can say, I set my alarm clock for 7 a.m. Right, so if you set a goal, you're kind of putting here's the goal, you're putting it at position, and then you're going to go after that goal and try to achieve it.
Okay, nice. So in this part 1, we learned how Ethan has a lack of control and that he doesn't have discipline, right? So if he keeps going like that, then he's not going to really achieve or improve anything, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, so putting off his homework, right? I think that really does take self-discipline to do your homework, you know, right away.
Exactly.
Don't leave it to the last minute.
And putting away your phone.
Putting away your phone, you know, because then you don't get enough sleep, and then you're probably going to be tired the next day, and you're not going to be a very good student. So if you had to pick an area in your life where you want to make some improvements, where would you make some adjustments or make some improvements?
Well, I think with Ethan, he had to pick his area and then set a goal, right?
Right.
So what would help me with my discipline? I would say I would want to improve my diet.
Okay.
And one way to make that adjustment is maybe I can not buy junk food. Stop buying junk food in the house. Then that way it's easier for me to not eat unhealthy food.
Oh,
right?
You know, mine's pretty kind of similar. I have about 10 different Haagen-Dazs
in your fridge?
In my in my freezer at home. And it's hard not to just eat a little bit of that every day.
True.
But if I just stop buying it,
it won't be a problem.
It won't be so much of a problem. So yeah, there's always things that we can do to better improve, like making goals for ourselves and just being a bit more disciplined, having our self-discipline.
Indeed. So this was part 1, and there's actually still part 2 of this topic.
All right, so we'll see you in part 2.
All right, bye.
Ethan has a lack of control. He puts off doing his homework until the last minute. He also doesn't put his phone down, although it's time to go to sleep. In other words, Ethan doesn't have self-discipline.
That's the practice of doing what's right instead of doing what's easy and feels good.
If Ethan doesn't change, he won't succeed in the long term. To fix this, Ethan must look at his life and pick an area that he wants to improve. Then he can set an easy goal to reach.
Hello, I'm Tina. 我们来看这一课的重点单字。第一个 control 名词，克制、控制。Teresa has no control over her children. Teresa 控制不了她的孩子。下一个单字 practice 名词，做法、惯例。In the US, it's a common practice to tip the waiter. 在美国，给服务生小费是常见的做法。下一个单字 succeed 动词，成功。Our plan didn't succeed. 我们的计划没有成功。 最后一个单字 area 名词，方面、领域。In the area of music, Lucy is a talented singer. 在音乐领域 ，Lucy 是一位有才华的歌手。Talented 指的是有才华的。接着我们来看重点文法。第一个 ，a lack of something， 缺乏某物。lack 缺少，在这里是一个名词的用法，横为单数形式。我们来看看这个例句。Mike's only problem is a lack of confidence. Mike 唯一的问题是缺乏自信。Confidence 指的是自信。下一个文法 go to sleep 上床睡觉，可以用 go to bed 来表达相近的语义。我们来看看这个例句 Patrick usually goes to sleep at 11 o'clock 或者也可以说 Patrick usually goes to bed at 11 o'clock Patrick 通常在11点钟上床睡觉。最后一个文法 in the long term 长期来看，也可以说 in the long run The long term 指的是很长一段时间。我们来看看这个例句。In the long term, saving money helps secure your future. 长期来看，储蓄有助于保障你的未来。Secure 指的是使安全、保护。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，我们下一课再见，拜拜。
Hey, it's Kiwi on the street. I'm Kiki. And I'm Winnie. Hey, Winnie, have you ever been stumped at customs where they asked you a question and you don't know what to say?
Yes, and it's so confusing. Sometimes I don't know what to reply.
Well, today we are going to translate some pretty common phrases that we might have to answer at customs.
We're going to test our friend on their translating skills, okay? So please choose one. Okay, very good. We have 我是来旅游的
I'm here for traveling. I came for traveling.
Okay, very good. I came for traveling or I came to visit. I'm a tourist. Very good. 我 is that 计划
Yeah,
Okay.
我计划在美国。
Yeah, you got it. 我计划在美国待2个礼拜。
My plan is to stay in the United States for 2 weeks.
I am planning to stay in America for 2 weeks.
I plan to stay at the USA for 2 weeks.
Very close, very good. I plan to stay in the US for 2 weeks. Okay, very good. Okay, what did we learn today? Today, we worked on translating some common phrases that we might encounter at customs. The first one, you can say, I'm here for sightseeing or tourism. And you can also say, I'm here just visiting or traveling. The next one, I plan to stay in the US for 2 weeks. Or you can say, I'm planning to visit the States for 2 weeks. Those are the translations that we worked on today. Kiwi later!